One concept we think every educator should be informed about is the concept of early versus late maturation. For the most part, every child follows a relatively similar path through different stages of development. The velocity of human growth tends to become slower and slower after about the fourth month of fetal life. This trend tends to continue until we hit approximately ages of 13 to 15, or puberty ages, where there is an acceleration of growth. Growth does continue after adolescence, however, increases in height are minimal and at a slower rate. Growth spurts during adolescence are very visible changes in adolescent development. Spurts for girls tend to begin at 9 to 10 years old, whereas for boys it is usually 2 to 3 years later. However, they're ultimately taller and heavier than girls, generally speaking. Some potential influences on physical growth include hormones, heredity, environment, and maturity. Understanding these can help with maybe seeing the source of why different students mature at different rates. With early versus late maturers, there are both advantages and disadvantages for both males and females. For the early maturing female, authority figures tend to treat these girls as more mature, which sometimes reflect in their behavior to act more mature. These girls tend to have more active social lives and feel better about their physical figures. They are more independent and have high levels of cognitive maturity and coping skills. Some disadvantages are that they sometimes have lower grades and tend to misbehave more often in class. They also have had less time to prepare and adjust to puberty, so may be affected by being somewhat rushed into puberty. In contrast, for the late maturing females, these girls tend to be somewhat more outgoing, assertive, and socially poised. They are somewhat under less pressure from society and may develop emotionally and socially at roughly the same time as the boys in their classes. On the other hand, they may have lower cognitive maturity and coping skills compared to those that matured earlier. They also may be more self-conscious regarding their physique, which leads to a potential for low self-esteem. Early maturing in males definitely seems to be more beneficial than detrimental. These boys are viewed and treated as more mature as leaders by their peers and their teachers. They also are more physically strong and therefore have a competitive edge in athletics. They tend to have higher self-esteem and self-confidence and are more attractive to the girls in their age group. On the negative side, they are often expected to be more mature than they act and will often be seen as poorly behaving. As well, they may be socially immature due to a lack of time to adjust to the changes. Perhaps the most negatively affected group is the late maturing males. These males may be more cognitively mature and better at coping skills, however there are a lot of disadvantages. Late maturing males tend to be less popular, have feelings of incompetency, inadequacy, and/or rejection by girls and by peers. This tends to lead to decreased self-esteem and overall self-worth, as well as potential for depression, anxiety, and aggression. Educators really need to be aware and pay attention to these advantages and disadvantages to better understand what these different types of students are going through, how they feel, etc., and maybe how to help them along the way. Hope this helps. Thanks.